Good morning, EV artists. It's Mrs. Smith coming to you from my home. Today we are going to do a little bit more of a challenging project, and it's going to take a little bit more time. This is called spiral drawing. It's pretty crazy. We're going to do some practice before we do this final product. You might mess up a few times. That's okay. This one's going to take practice. It's not going to be a one and done project. So this one's going to be a little bit harder, but the final project is pretty awesome. There's lots of YouTube videos on it. So if you finish this one today with me and you want to do more, there's lots of different ones. So let's go ahead and get started by doing some practice. So you're gonna need a Sharpie. If you use just a regular black Crayola marker for this, it will smear as you're doing it. I had one of them that I messed up on because it was all smeared. You could do this with a pencil. It will smear a little bit, but then if you mess up, you could erase it. I find it easier just to do it with a Sharpie, and then if I mess up, I just need to practice some more. You can use any straight edge, or if you feel comfortable, you can just draw the lines on yourself. I thought they looked really wobbly to me when I did it without a straight edge, so I'm gonna do mine with a straight edge. We're gonna start with practice. So I have a piece of paper, and I'm going to do a square. So I'm not even measuring my square for my practice. Okay, so I've got my square. It's kind of wonky, but you get the idea. And I'm going to start my spiral drawing by looking at one side, and I'm going to start at the corner and go down across. And when I go down, I'm gonna go out just a little bit. So what we're gonna create is actually a square that's gonna shift inside of this square. So I'm going to go from the corner to this point. So by drawing that little dot there, it's helping me line my ruler up, okay? So that's my first line. Now I'm going to spiral the paper, or turn the paper, so that I'm going from that point that I just made, and I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna go to another dot. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm gonna spin, go from that point where I just made, go down to my new dot. Okay, now remember, this is just a practice one. This is getting us familiar with what we're doing. Okay, I'm gonna spin the paper, do the same thing, go from the dot that I just made to a new dot, and make that. So now it looks like there's two squares. One square is a little shifted inside of my original square. Now I'm gonna continue. So I'm gonna spin my paper, and I'm gonna go from that corner to a new dot. Now, the skinnier Sharpie tip you use, the skinnier your lines are going to be. So now I'm going to spin my paper, make another dot, and continue. And this takes a little while. And like I said, it takes practice. So don't feel like this is going to be super easy. And I'm just going to continue spinning my paper, drawing a tick mark, connecting my corner with my tick mark. Okay, now one of the things you're going to notice as you go, this one looks pretty evenly spaced. They're not always going to be evenly spaced, and that's okay. If you look at mine, some of mine line up, some of them are really big. It's okay, okay? This is not a perfectionist piece of artwork. This is just something a lot harder than what we've done lately, okay? So I'm just gonna continue. So it looks like my square is going in farther and farther. Okay. If you would like, you can keep on going. You could fast forward through this part if you're feeling super confident, and you can finish your square. So as you can see, I finished my practice square. So it's 4 corners coming together and it kind of makes a triangle in the middle. Okay, so that was my practice square. Now I'm gonna do a practice triangle. So I'm gonna do it on the same sheet of paper. Remember, this is just a practice. If you felt like you didn't feel very comfortable with the square, you could do the square over again if you wanted. It's up to you. Now with the triangle, it's the same thing. It's just a little different. So we're gonna start with the corner, make a little tick mark, okay? Go from that, okay? Turn my paper, do the same thing from the corner that I just made to the new tick mark, okay? Turn my paper, corner to the new tick mark. Okay, same thing. So there's a triangle inside the triangle and it's just shifting a little bit. Okay, the shift is all about how wide you make your tick marks. So if you make them really close together, it's gonna look like it's a smaller shift. If you make them farther apart, it's gonna look like it's a bigger shift. Okay, so it's shifting around. The triangle is not as many lines because it's only 3 sides instead of 4 sides. So it's going to take you a little less time. Once you get more comfortable, you can even stop doing your tick marks and just continue your pattern. But that's all about how comfortable you feel doing it, okay? If you don't feel comfortable, you can keep on practicing, okay? If you feel more comfortable, you can jump into the project, okay? So if you'll notice on my square one, this one, I do have a little bit of smearing. That's just due to my ruler and the way I'm moving my paper, okay? If you wanted a little less smearing, you could pick up your ruler and be a lot more careful with your drawing. It's just a little bit of smearing, it's hardly even noticeable. Okay, it's up to you how careful you want to be with this project, okay? Now, if you wanted to, instead of shifting your paper as much, you can do your ruler a little bit different. It's totally up to you. And as you get into the middle, I actually stop using the ruler and just draw my lines because they're a little bit smaller. But that's totally up to you. So there's my 2 practices. I did the square and the triangle. So